Today I'm speaking with the lovely Catherine Doyle, who I call Kat. Oh, Kat, where's Venice, your dog?
Oh, she's taking a nap right now. I'm sure she'll come out shortly, but let me see.
Okay, guys, so if
Oh,
you do
yeah,
see
she'll
if
be
you
here.
do see a lovely dog come out, that's Venice. But for now, we have Kat. Welcome. Welcome to my
Thank you so
platform.
much, and thank you for having me on as well.
You're most
Um,
welcome. I've been really excited to speak to you and talk to you about all the things that you've got in store. Kat and I worked together at a non-profit, and Kat's been doing some brilliant work in the community in LA. Kat, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you're up to now.
okay, so I am originally from New York, the East Coast. I grew up in a town called Sleepy Hollow, and there I kind of was really into advocating for inclusive education, which led me to study inclusive education and special ed at Syracuse University. Upon graduating, I had various different jobs, kind of went on like self-discovery in the creative world to teaching. I'm currently working with individuals, kind of finding their authentic self and limiting the external factors that shape us and just following more creative projects right now.
Oh my gosh, that sounds absolutely amazing. I know that when we worked together, you were working with youth and helping them navigate their journey in adulthood. Now you're working with individuals um, on topics such as authenticity. Like
Yeah,
that's such a broad topic.
it is.
Tell us about what is authenticity?
So basically, it's like your true self, right? Your true being, your strengths, and focusing on your strengths and not letting weaknesses hold you over and take over like everything, right? Because when we're in school, we're taught we're good at this, we're bad at this, etc. And that's kind of how we start to move. So I think in time we start to lose factors of ourselves. Like, well, what did I like that I wasn't allowed to do? Or was I a very hyper kid, an active kid, and then that was seen as bad? So it's kind of learning, unlearning to learn like who you are and how you move in this world and like creativity to having a right side brain and just kind of using your strengths to move forward in life.
That's amazing. So you're on your way to being a therapist and you're going to intertwine the therapy with helping people become their authentic self.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. What would that look like?
So it looks like, I mean, it's all so broad and individualized. Like each client, each person that comes into your room or space or life is just such a different experience. But something I always tell clients that I learned from my yoga training is kind of like you're born with this light and who you are as this person, right? So picture this like abundance and this bright light. And then as life goes on, we start to see things and the light starts to dim or
Mm.
flicker. And you start to notice that. And that's kind of losing sense of self. And that can be through family dynamics, that could be through systems, that can be kind of through anything in your experience. So it's kind of finding like, well, what brings you joy, right? Like what fills that light? What makes you brighter? What makes you shine? What makes you feel confident? And like, why aren't you pursuing that or doing that or being that confident self? And let's look at what external factors are dimming your light or flickering it. And that's kind of what I call like the anxiety, depression of the world coming in. So that's kind of how I pitch it to my clients in the beginning. And then usually they're like, oh, wait, like that resonates. Like I used to have this when I was 8. I loved running. I loved playing. I loved meeting new people. And it's like, okay, well, now let's discover like what went on through that to like not make you want to like do or explore or create. And that's kind of going back and just doing the work to unlearn behaviors so you can become your authentic self again.
What it is.
Yes. Yeah.
What it is.
It is work.
It it takes a lot of effort to undo certain things, certain ways we've been conditioned to behave,
Yeah,
the way we've been conditioned to think. This is like a programming. So we just kind of like deprogram ourselves
for
back to
sure.
who we really are. It's such an
Mhm.
interesting topic. And you mentioned something about systems, and experiences that may contribute to us losing ourselves, our sense of authenticity. And one experience that comes to mind that the collective kind of went through together was the global pandemic.
Mhm.
Um, that had the world shooketh, okay?
Oh
And
yeah. I think it still does. I think we're still like,
I mean, we're still recovering.
yeah.
I hear so many people saying that they're exhausted and
Hmm.
maybe they want to pivot. That aside, during the pandemic, a lot of people were out of work and they
Hmm.
found themselves lost, not
Oh,
knowing what to do with themselves because they weren't at work. Almost as if
absolutely.
they identified with their
Hmm.
career or what their job role. Um, and it was just like, okay, so I'm stuck in the house. What
Yeah.
do I do now? You know?
Well, because that's how we're programmed, right? It's we show up to somewhere every day. We are this person every day. So it's like when that stops and that pause happens, it's how do we sit with the unknown and how do we sit with like, oh, well, I'm not doing this right now. And I think in some weird way, as scary as that was, and people are exhausted and all these things, I call it kind of the mirror effect, where people really had to look at themselves in their life because, like, they didn't have a choice, right? You're sitting at home, we're in lockdown during a pandemic. And I think that's part of fear is like, how do I sit with myself and not have my identity of my work or not have my identity of this? And I think that's the scary part, but I also think it's work that needs to be done. So, in some weird way, it's like the uncomfort of reflecting, right? During those scary times as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, for me, it felt like the world was slowing down,
Mhm.
and I had a opportunity to focus more on my health. I was hiking more, I was running more, I was taking really good care of myself and doing a lot of reflecting and thinking about what it is I wanted to do and what actually brings me joy.
Right.
Um, so I mean, I can only hope that that was the case for many other people, but there are people who are still struggling with
Mhm.
their self, their sense of self and their identity and who they are, authenticity,
Oh, I have so much trouble with that word
authentic.
authenticity. It's the ending for some reason. It's like, oh, yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
thing, that thing that makes you you, that je ne sais quoi, that
Yes,
like
exactly.
who am I?
Mhm.
What would be a couple of things we can do to remind ourselves of who we really are and tap into that authenticity?
Yeah. So I believe kind of like everything's an energy. So, you can feel that, oh, here it goes again, authenticity when you're around someone that makes you like it's a feeling, right? So when you're around people that just shine your light and are like, oh, you're so funny, you're so smart, like, that good like conversation and everything's, you just don't have your shoulders up to your ears. You're like, oh, I can say something and it's like, I'm with the closest people in my life and like that's okay. Like they'll correct me, they're this, but like you're in a safe space. Where I think at times it's kind of like we're always so in fear of just how we're showing up. Like, was that kind enough? Did I say that correctly? Did I pronounce this correctly? Like, do they like me? And like, we live in a world with like instant gratification and social media where it's like, we need to be liked, we need to be this, that I think a lot of people are shape shifting instead of being their truest self. So it's kind of like, well, what do you like? Like, do you like fashion? Are you wearing, are you taking a pair of jeans and being like, hey, could this work as sleeves today with like a tank top and exploring? Or are you like, oh, you know what? I think a neighbor would find that weird, so I shouldn't do it, or like I need to stay in the box. And
Cares what the neighbors think.
exactly, but that's the whole point. It's like, what is it that makes you feel so? Is it like shows you love watching? It's connecting with like community that brings that light to you, and you exploring again and like finding your ways. And I know you see it on social media and other outlets where it's like be yourself because then your tribe comes to you. But I think that's true, right? Like, I think so many times we're trying to be something we're not. We're trying to tell ourselves we're something we're not, rather than just enjoying life and trying to enjoy life and just letting go of this like idea of perfection that we just seem to need to have 24/7. So,
You're
I'm trying to
speaking
give you
to me
examples of
right
ways.
now because I deem myself a recovering perfectionist.
Mhm.
Um, I was of this mindset that I think it's like subconsciously though, whenever I do something, that it has to be perfect the first time.
Mhm.
So even with me doing well-being with Marissa, I struggled with that in the beginning because I just wanted it to be perfect. But the magic is in the process, and it's in figuring it out and just showing up and putting myself out there. Um,
Right.
so I definitely, yeah,
And the
just
magic is in the quirks, you know? Like I think that's something people forget is like I love people that are like quirky, neurodivergent, or like think a different way, or you know, and I think we always forget how amazing
yeah,
these people are, how amazing mistakes are, how amazing like certain like they're the people creating and innovating. It's like so it's kind of taking this perfectionist off and putting it aside and being like it's okay if I fail. It's okay if I post this and it gets no likes because that's the in between. Like you said, it's the in between stages
yeah,
and the process. And when everyone's like, oh, I'm grateful, it's like that's something to find joy in every day. It's like, you know what? I'm showing up for myself when no one's even saying, like, this is amazing and great because I'm not a hamster on a wheel and I
right,
can live my authentic life and be proud that I'm doing that.
yeah,
And I give myself that self compassion and gratitude that I'm showing up for myself and not abandoning myself to be part of something I'm not. So,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're so right. You mentioned safe spaces earlier.
mhm.
And it's something that popped up in my mind literally a second before you said it. Just drawing on my own personal experiences, I think, in order for me to feel authentic as well, is to be in a safe space, but not just physical space and
Yeah.
not just around people who I think like me or
Yeah.
know to like me, but just feeling safe within myself,
Hmm.
trusting my own decisions,
Yeah.
trusting what I know and what I share, and yeah, being my safe space. Recently, one of my coaches, I've got a couple of coaches, one of my coaches said, it's actually unsafe to be hidden and stagnant. That's not, you've got to reach, she was like, you've got to reprogram your mind to think that that is unsafe and
Like
safe.
self isolation in a way.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
yes. The safety is putting yourself out there, trying new things, because even if you do fail, you're going to learn something and you're still
Yeah.
going to be on this trajectory of forward movement.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's
I love
actually
that.
unsafe for you to just,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything, I'm not going to do anything, I don't want to be perceived. Disappear, disappear, disappear.
Yeah. And I'm happy you said that because that's my safe space. I'll be like in my like room with my dog and be like, oh, good, it's safe. But your coach is so right that that's not safe because what are you learning? How are you growing? Who are you meeting? And you're taking away moments of your life, right? Rather if they're good or bad, it's like you got to live. You have to have the moments. So yeah,
Exactly. You're not expanding.
yeah,
And I think that has a lot to do with being authentic as well. I mean, you've got to go out. You've got to put yourself out there and
definitely.
have new experiences
Yeah.
so that you can learn about who you are, how you respond to things, right?
Hmm. And I needed this chat because I just signed up for competitive volleyball and I've never played. So I'm like, here
That
goes
is
something.
amazing. I've been feeling particularly sporty these days. I've been doing a lot of running and hiking is my thing anyway, but I've been putting more effort into working out and just focusing on my physical health. And I've been
Mhm.
thinking about doing a sport. I'm not sure if it's going to be a martial art or
Oh, I love that.
skating or swimming. I don't know. I want to do all the things,
I'm
Kat.
excited for you. I'm like here for it. I'll be your cheerleader too, being on the sideline, and then I'll be at
Likewise.
volleyball. Yeah.
Likewise.
So,
Likewise.
yeah.
No, I mean, I just want to explore all these things and, like I said, discover what I like and,
Mhm.
you know,
And
keep.
that's part of it. That's being authentic, is discovering. And I think we're so scared to fail at things in a way, or we're like, well, what if someone yells at us if we're not great at this? Or like, what if, like, what if this moment happens? But that's fear, and that's creating a narrative that's not even there, that's
Mm.
stopping us from pursuing it. So it's really just trying to like let go and be
Yeah.
like, well, here goes, and that's the way to live now.
I follow this wellness girl on Instagram and she was talking about exercise, physical exercise.
Mhm.
Working out helps her push herself just to see how far she can go. Like she's like, if I can do this with my body, what else can I do?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can I apply this same energy into other
Yeah.
areas of my life? And I think that has a lot to do with authenticity as well, because you might have an idea of who you need to be. It might
Hmm.
be it might be your career. And you say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm a therapist and that's it. And you're not
Yeah.
pushing yourself in other areas to see what else you can do.
Yeah. Or even not being an authentic therapist, right? Like that's something I learned in a training once was if you're going in with like a therapist voice of like, so what's like how what's going on today? It's like that's fine, right? That works for some people, but I know for instance, in my therapy, like I like to use with clients like humor with some, and then some like more like a somatic approach, like let's sit on the ground, let's breathe. So, like, it's kind of finding what individuals need authentically, what I need authentically, so I'm not burning out. Like, it's a lot of learning how to show up for yourself, and it doesn't have to be so like, I'm just like when I go into therapy or whatever I do, it's like, how do I bring myself and my personality into
Mhm.
my work as well?
Yeah. So would you say it has a lot to do with self-awareness?
Yes, self-awareness and I think trust. I think trusting who you are, which sounds strange, but I know for me that's scary to a degree. It's like because I can
Yes,
shape
it
shift
is.
and become like, well, because I can. It's so easy to shape shift, like I don't know. I'm a Pisces, people say they do that, they're water, they move into like whatever it is. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that I have that quality to if I'm surrounded by people, like I can be very like, oh yeah, great. Like, so it's like, oh no, trust yourself. Don't just agree to agree. Like, find your way, trust your voice, and like you are funny. Use your humor in certain situations when it's appropriate, and then it works. And the trust is there because it's like, oh, she gets it, rather than me being like, mm-hmm. So, I'm just going to repeat back what you're saying and what I heard.
Right.
But then it's like everyone's doing that. So it's like, how can I be authentic in every way I move in my life?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're doing that by expanding outside of your career, outside of the therapy room. You're
Yes.
trying new things.
Yeah.
So that, you've done yoga, you've been an athlete, now you're doing volleyball, all the things, Kat.
I
So
drive my family and friends crazy, but you know what? I'm living authentically. So what can a girl do? So,
doing
yeah.
all the things that kind of like bring bring you to life.
Yeah. And it's
So
what you said, like you need to live, you need to try because we're only here once. So why not give everything what you can if you can do it and manage? Like sometimes I do drive myself crazy because I'm working on like 5 different projects and then my ADHD starts going. So, but if you can do it, I say, join in the circus and give it a try because
yeah.
it's like what your coach said, coming back to, like when you're stagnant, that's not living and that's not being safe even.
It was a game changer when she said that.
Yeah, I love
Being
that.
stagnant is not safe.
Oh, I'm recycling that. Like I like wrote it down. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yes, okay.
Reprogram your mind
Yeah.
into thinking that being stagnant is actually unsafe for you, and
Mhm.
then get out there and do something. Kat, this has been so inspirational. I think we need more people like you in the world, helping people to be who they really are. Thank you so much for your time
Thank you so
today,
much. I appreciate it.
for
So
sharing.
much fun.
Is there anything that you would like to share? Just put out there into the world for
I
people to know
have
about
been
you.
preaching this, but I don't think it's like the happy-go-lucky thing to be preaching right now, but I think the world kind of needs to hear it. Is that I think we have this concept that we're supposed to constantly be happy, 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 happy 24/7 around the clock. And I've been telling a lot of clients, myself, like we're going to gyms and the news is on and all these things and external and we're seeing things. And it's like, it is okay not to be happy 24/7 or wake up being like, I need to be positive today. Sometimes you are going to have those days. Just do not abandon yourself and lose yourself within it, but also be in touch with your emotions and feelings and know that it's okay to be sad when you are seeing things, hearing things, whatever's going on, and just creating like, okay, now it's time to live. Now I have to move on, but just allow your feelings to be there because I think we live in a world where it's like, I must escape this feeling. It's uncomfortable. And it's like, no, you can sit in the discomfort, have it, you can accept it, give yourself time, day, whatever it may be, and then be like, okay, it's time to rock and roll. I cannot control this. Now I need to move forward, but don't think you can't feel uncomfortable during this time and age. And that's sorry to preach that. I mean to spark joy and everything, but I just think like, and I just see it everywhere where it's like gratitude, and I'm like, yes, 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 so important, but also we live in time where feelings come up, it's murky, and it's like okay to feel that is all I want to say as well.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. And it does resonate with me because at one stage in my life, I think I was kind of avoiding feeling pain and
Mm-hmm.
I would suppress it. And then I started learning how to just sit with it, but not seeking happiness within those times, but trying to just
Acceptance.
accepting the situation and just looking for joy in the little things.
Yes.
Because I feel like happiness comes
Yeah.
and goes. It's not a constant thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, you know, be happy, happy, happy. It's kind of toxic to
Mm-hmm.
be that way.
Yeah.
And it's not real. It's not authentic. This
It's
is
not.
life.
And that's why I'm just kind of like, I don't mean to come on here and be like Debbie Downer here, but I just feel like it's important because everyone's trying to escape this with like alternatives or like whatever. And like you said, you weren't finding joy in it, you were accepting and sitting in it, but you were finding those moments that brought you joy that were like maybe it was walking and seeing a flower you loved or
Exactly.
having a smile or conversation with like the guy at the deli. Like, and it's just like little moments like that that give you that lazy smile where you're like, like
Yeah.
capture that and feel that because a lot of times we see so much, we're exposed to so much and we can feel it, but don't forget the little moments like you said as well, which are so,
Exactly.
yeah.
Wonderful.
And I know. Thank you so much, Marissa. Sorry, I'm like chatty Cathy over here, but
No,
I'm
I
gonna,
love talking with you, Kat. It's been amazing. Thank
yeah.
you so much for joining me. And when everything is up and running and you got your branding and the whole thing,
Yes, I will let you know.
definitely come back and talk
Yes.
more about authenticity. And I'm sure you'll have something else that you'll be working on in the future. And I'm so excited, Pete. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
I'm excited for
sharing.
you too. All right. Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you.
Have